What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So there is a very good chance that many of you are going to at least receive one more payment in addition to whatever other direct payments and federal assistance is going to be coming. So there's a lot that I wanted to cover in today's video, so let's get right down to it. First off, I just want to thank you guys for watching. If you can, go ahead, hit that like button. It really does help out the channel. First, President Biden met with 4 of our congressional leaders. That's Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Well, today they were tasked with discussing the $4.1 trillion infrastructure package. Unfortunately, not much was really taken away from this meeting. However, there are reports that they are going to continue at it. But I will break down what was actually said, what went on, and what we can expect moving forward from this current meeting. We also know that the cost of gas has gone up by roughly 8% over the past week. In 1 week, 8%. So there are now, we also know there's now 12 states that are committed to canceling federal unemployment benefits during the summer months. So it's going to happen a couple months early. President Biden also believes that if vaccines are nearby, available, and convenient, the American people will get them. Today, the U.S. Department of Treasury issued the rules for states to follow regarding the $350 billion in funding that they will be receiving. And yes, these can be used for an additional stimulus check. I want to break down how many of you could potentially be getting at least one more check. Now, I know a lot of you want to know about stimulus. Some of my videos I've done lately, I pushed the stimulus updates towards the back. Many of you have mentioned that you'd like to see it towards the beginning of the video, so I'm going to do that for you guys right now. So first, here's what we know. President Biden has not come forward and said that he wants another stimulus check in the infrastructure package. However, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, he has actually signed on to support the $2,000 stimulus checks. So there is some support from our congressional leadership. It's just not from President Biden himself yet. We also know Speaker Pelosi has not said a word about another stimulus check either, and she really hasn't addressed direct payments over the past couple of months outside of the unemployment income. So that's really all she's talked about. But this is currently where things could potentially change, because what we know is that progressives are still pushing for a 4th stimulus check, and many of them are quite possibly pushing more for a monthly payment as opposed to just a one-time stimulus check, which could potentially be $2,000, $1,000, maybe even $600. We honestly don't know. But what we need to keep in mind is that right now progressives, according to reports, are not going to push too hard too early, because they say that until the infrastructure package is a little bit further along, they don't expect to see much in terms of a 4th stimulus check from the federal government. So I addressed this the other day as well. This is something that we need to keep in mind, is that if the economy keeps doing better, then the chances of a 4th stimulus check happening are actually much smaller. But right now, what I can tell you is that yes, the economy is looking a little bit better. The stock market's taking quite a bit of a hit, so if you invest in the stock market, just be careful. But just understand, yes, there's with what happened this morning with the consumer price index coming out, all that data, there was a bit of a shock. A lot of people did not expect to see some things rose the amount that they did, month over month and even year over year. So if you didn't get a chance to watch the video that I did on that earlier on today, make sure you go and watch that. It'll be the first link down in the description box below. But here's what we need to keep in mind. Progressives aren't going to push for too much too early, because they say that we need to get farther along with the infrastructure package. As of right now, the whole infrastructure package is pretty much up in the air. There's nothing in this bill that is set in stone as of right now. Yes, President Biden wants to, do all this stuff for roads, bridges, child care, health care, elder care, things like that, and so on. But there's also talks of, well, we have to figure out a way to pay for this. And as of right now, there hasn't been any concrete evidence that Democrats are willing to move forward with the corporate tax rate increase that President Biden is pushing for. He wants 28%. It's currently at 21%. And many Democrats, including moderate Joe Manchin, are pretty much saying that 25% is the highest they are willing to support, but Republicans say no, they draw the line there. They're not going to support any increase in the corporate income tax. So we'll see what happens there. But here's something else we know. And this is the big part regarding stimulus is right now, states are going to be getting their share of the $350 billion in funding that was passed through the American Rescue Plan just a month ago, or actually 2 months ago. We're already in May. So yeah, it's actually been 2 months, really. Wow, it's been 2 months since we passed the American Rescue Plan. I thought it was just a month ago, but it's been 2 months. So here's what we know. The Treasury stated today that states are now able to use that money for stimulus checks. Okay, they specifically stated stimulus checks. They also stated that checks grossly exceeding the $600 and $1,400 stimulus payments would be outside the scope of eligibility under the new rules. So to make this a little bit simpler, put it in plain English, if a state wants to provide, let's say $5,000 as a stimulus check, they can't do that. If a state wants to provide $500 as a stimulus check, they can do that because that does not grossly exceed the $600 but in the statement it says $600 and, so that would be $2,000. So $500 doesn't grossly exceed $2,000, so there they'd have the ability to do that. My guess is they could probably pass as much as like $2,400. Anything past that probably wouldn't pass. There'd be some issues there. So we'll see what happens here. But this is why some people right now, some experts are saying that states that have a surplus, a budget surplus, for instance, California, right? $75.7 billion as a budget surplus. States like this are most likely going to pass additional stimulus. More checks to their residents and the American people. But what we already know is California is already doing that. They're already doing that because of their surplus, and now they're going to get even more money. This is why some experts are currently saying that more payments are coming. You may be part of that. You may get one more payment. If so, that's great. Okay, so depending on which states start to, have a little bit of discussions on, hey, let's give our residents another stimulus check. We got this many billions of dollars coming. Let's give them, let's just say a $300 stimulus check. Okay, a $500, $1,000 stimulus check. Now, I don't think $1,000 is going to happen, but I do think $300 and $500 are very likely. Here's a short list of what the state and local governments can actually do with their money. And again, this does include stimulus checks, but this also includes food assistance, rental assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance. There's counseling and legal aid to prevent homelessness. And this is a huge crisis that I don't even think we have reached the peak of homelessness yet. Honestly, it's not even close. I think we're just starting because as soon as the eviction moratoriums expire, as soon as landlords are able to evict their tenants, they're going to do so. And with that, as a landlord, I could say, you were evicted from your last, place of residence. I just don't feel comfortable renting to you at this time. And so that's the issue that we're going to have is landlords will be like, you know what? I know we just went through a pandemic. You're going to have a tough time, but I just evicted somebody that was in the same situation. So bringing somebody else back in who is still unemployed or just got their job back, I'm kind of hesitant on doing that, right? That's what we're starting to see. We're seeing more reports of landlords that are not only going to, not evict their tenants, but what they're going to do is many of them are going to sell their property because they do not want to bring in a new tenant. They're just going to sell their property. Okay, so this is where we could potentially see a housing crisis on our hands as well. So again, just be wary of that. We also know there's going to be emergency assistance for burials, home repairs, and weatherization. Again, I'm curious how that's going to work. For home repairs, as a homeowner, I'm obviously looking into this. As soon as we get any information on that, there's also going to be you can use it for internet access and also job training. These are big. Okay, internet access is something that I don't think many states are going to implement this, simply because it would make no sense, according to reports, why a state would use their funding, their personal funding, to provide broadband or internet access when the federal government is supposed to step in and implement that as far as their infrastructure. So we'll see what happens there. And again, I don't expect any shortage of additional assistance coming, but as always, as we learn more, I promise I will fill you in on all those details. But again, right now we just have to wait and see. Now, some of the biggest news coming out today actually has to do with President Biden, and it doesn't have to do with stimulus checks. Okay? What we know is that President Biden held a critical meeting today that yielded very little results. President Biden met with Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, and Kevin McCarthy, our 4 congressional leaders. And after the meeting, President Biden said, and I quote, "I'm encouraged that there is room to have a compromise on a bipartisan bill that's solid and significant. But at the same time, Republicans stated that they are not interested in raising the corporate tax rate at all. And they drew the red line," Mitch McConnell said. Okay, even Mitch McConnell, let me just explain what he said right now. And I quote, "We're not interested in reopening the 2017 tax bill. We both made that clear to the president. That's our red line." So they do not want to open up the 2017 tax bill that was passed under former President Donald Trump. And some people, and you're going to get reports on this, is if they go and open that up and make some changes, what you could see, again, I don't anticipate anybody making less than $400,000 is going to get a increase in their income taxes. However, if Democrats do go and open this up, it opens the door to potentially seeing tax breaks, tax credits could fall, which is essentially the same thing as an increase. If you reduce tax credits, you'll get rid of tax breaks. It's the same thing as just giving you a higher tax bracket. So we will see what happens there. We also know Kevin McCarthy said, and I quote, "Raising taxes would be the biggest mistake you could make." And many economists are saying the exact same thing, that raising taxes during a pandemic at this point in this crisis would be fatal to many people. Now, what we know at this point is this group of 5 will eventually get back together, and the plan is to get back together in the near future. But the goal right now, according to the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal, is to come up with a list of legislation that could pass with bipartisan support. However, Republicans are saying that right now they see childcare, housing, and other priorities as separate from the infrastructure bill. So they do not plan on including childcare or housing in the upcoming infrastructure package, which right now Democrats are saying that this is needed. But right now, what I can tell you is we just have to wait and see what Democrats are willing to pull out of this bill in order to finally get some bipartisan support. Right now, what is being discussed is how the economy is actually bouncing back. Are we bouncing back quicker than many were expecting? And if so, that's what's causing the talks on inflation. We know it's not just talks. We're physically seeing it in the data that came out today. So President Biden says that he honestly believes that the United States will reach herd immunity by July 4th, and that is 70% of the population will have the vaccine or would have contracted COVID and would have the antibodies in their system. So when he says this, what he's stating is that the economy will become better because of the amount of vaccinated individuals. And he said, and I quote, "I don't believe that the American people, there's any significant portion of people who refuse to get vaccinated. They keep hearing about how Republicans won't. Look, if it's available, if it's nearby, if it's convenient, people are getting vaccinated. I believe the vast majority of Americans are going to get vaccinated." Now, I bring this up, and I bring up this statement because he says, and I quote, if it's available, if it's nearby, and it's convenient, people will get vaccinated. But again, we have to get to at least 70% in order to reach herd immunity, according to Dr. Fauci. Now, President Biden also said that the United States, as of today, is on track to reach 60% of the adult population will have at least one dose of the vaccine by next week. That is big. So the chance of reaching herd immunity in the United States by July 4th is actually pretty significant, and some people are very optimistic. But the reason I bring all this up is because right now Democrats are saying if we see the economy improve, it just shows that there's a greater need for infrastructure. But then some Democrats say if the economy worsens, there's more of a need for infrastructure. And then you got Republicans that say if the economy is doing better, then why do we need infrastructure at all? Let's let the economy dictate what actually gets expanded, where we grow. But then we got economists that say, no, we cannot let the economy dictate and the American people dictate how fast we grow. We need to do something now so that we can actually compete with China. So right now, all the experts are saying one thing, some are saying another, and then obviously we got other issues going on as well. One of those issues, which the Biden administration is keeping a close eye on, is the Colonial Pipeline situation. We know that this shutdown actually is causing a crisis over on the East Coast. And let me know in your area, how expensive is gasoline per gallon? Usually I go to one certain gas station, where I live, and the gas station last night was at $3.38. Okay, this morning I decided I didn't want to get gas last night. I just wanted to go home, and so I didn't get gas. I decided to go this morning, and it was $3.49. Okay, so over 10 cents overnight, and I live in Washington State. I don't live on the East Coast. So that's a little scary. 10 cents isn't gonna break me, but it's still a little scary to pay 10 cents more just because I waited about 12 hours and it cost me 10 cents more per gallon. Okay, that's an issue. That's a big issue because that's just one day. If we were to continue to see that increase, honestly, I don't know if I'd even drive. I'd probably have to ride a bike. That's a little too expensive, for me. Anyway, but let me know in your area, how much is gas per gallon and are you seeing it increase? But here's what we know. President Biden said today that, and I quote, "We will have good news within the next 24 hours regarding the Colonial Pipeline situation." So again, we're just going to have to wait and see what's going on there. But as of right now, that is what we know. Another thing that we know is the national average over the past week has increased by 8%. It is now $3.01 per gallon just in the past week. And Florida, North Carolina, and Virginia, all their governors have declared state of emergencies over this gas shortage situation. One thing I just want to address, because what we know over the past, I think, 3 weeks, is that we got many reports that were saying there will be a shortage in gasoline. There will be a shortage at the pumps coming up this summer. Okay, we're in May, and we saw this shortage already simply because of the crisis, the shutdown. But what I can tell you is we're going to have those kind of reverberating effects over the next couple of months. It's going to lead into the summer, and if we do not have more truck drivers over the course of the summer, we are going to see prices at the pump skyrocket, and it's not going to be great. So that's what we know right now, but as always, as I know more regarding stimulus, what's going on with the infrastructure package, the gasoline issue, the unemployment crisis, even the housing crisis, and anything in between, I promise I will fill you in on all those details. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday afternoon and evening. Again, thank you guys for watching. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed today's video. Consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on, and I'll see you guys on the next one.